All right, guys, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Sao Paulo, as we now have the match to determine actually who, unfortunately, is eliminated from the tournament. And it's going to be between puCK and WM.
Yes, already very early on, of course, in this tournament, but that's the way that the Intel Extreme Masters work. However, even if WM would lose this series, which is, you know, with no disrespect, in the line of expectation, then he still goes home with $350. And let's not forget, not every day as a Brazilian player do you have the chance to win $350. So I'm pretty sure it's still been an awesome experience for him. He's not out of it yet, but I've been asking around a little bit because a few of these Brazilian guys I actually know pretty well, since I play a lot of North American ladder, and I run into those guys, and especially at the Terran play that we're going to see tomorrow, Kelzahur, who is part of Core Gaming, he's a good player, you know, like he's not to be underestimated. And I asked him, I was like, hey, I don't know WM that well, what should I know? He's like, well, he's been playing a lot of Dota for quite a while, and just like a month ago or something, he came back to StarCraft. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, what's his ladder rank? He's like, he's like somewhere mid-masters. He's like, he's not even really top masters. And then, of course, if you look at puCK, puCK is a player that's top 8 Grandmaster League on the North American server if he tries. Often top 1, sometimes has 2 accounts in the top 8 as well. So puCK is a heavy favorite in this series. Telling you guys anything otherwise would just be a straight-up lie. But you know, it's a ZVP after all, and of course, it might be a little bit of home ground advantage for WM. And he has nothing to lose, and there is nothing better than playing some StarCraft when you know that you have absolutely nothing to lose.
Very, very true. Here is puCK on screen. Recently, he's back. He's in WCS America 2014, isn't he?
That is correct, and he was impressive. He actually had to go up against a Taiwanese Zerg player called Ian. And you know, a lot of the people that were familiar with Ian, players like Soppy and stuff, said Ian is really good. He's like, if you ask me, Ian is the favorite. And a lot of guys were actually contacting me saying like, hey, Ian is going to take that. And I was like, guys, are you trying to make me silly on camera or something? Like, why am I not aware of this? They're like, nah, Ian is really good, but puCK was fantastic that series. He looked rock solid. Here we do see WM, only 17 years old, by the way. I wasn't even aware of that. I knew he was young, but not that young.
Yeah.
Either way, puCK looked super solid, had multiple timings. He's a tricky Protoss as well, not tricky in like the super cheesy way, just tricky in a way that you can't predict him. And puCK is a player that can play multiple styles as well. And he's a scary opponent for almost any Zerg, I'd say.
Yeah, I was watching quite a lot of puCK yesterday. Obviously, I don't get as much of an in-depth look at, you know, the US scene as you do, now living out there. But watching puCK play some PvZs yesterday was a real treat. You know, just watching him play some standard good macro games, and he seemed very, very difficult to break. And for Eric, Mr. WM, now I think this is going to be difficult for him. Our first map's actually going to be Heavy Rain, which, you know, we can see Protoss players take third bases on. Sometimes you see a lot of Zergs try and focus on that third base and try and deny it. But if they don't deny it properly, it can sometimes be very, very snowbally.
The map is Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain, a map where Protoss indeed has had quite a bit of success lately. I asked a couple of the Brazilians here as well, especially Kelzahur, because he seems like a really cool player.
Yeah.
I was like, so how likely is it that the WM is going to bring out the cheese? He's like, well, he said he wanted to cheese Jack G, but then he's like, I'm not going to do it because, you know, I don't want to go down as the cheeser. I want to try to display a good macro game. Unfortunately for him, that didn't really work out. I wouldn't be surprised if we're at least going to see him do something very crazy once in this series, but I'm not necessarily sure if Heavy Rain is the best map for it because the rush distance is kind of long.
All right, well, we'll see. Now, getting into game number 1 of this best of 3, the loser is out of the Intel Extreme Masters, as we have now spawning up to the north, blue Protoss. He is puCK.
Of course, representing Team IVB Gaming.
And down to the south, we have our red Zerg. He is WM.
He reminds me a little bit, for the Warcraft 3 players out there, they might get this reference of a mini Pato. Once upon a time, Pato was extremely young as well when he started playing competitive Warcraft 3, and he actually looks a little bit like him. These days, Pato is obviously, you know, he's 6-7 years older than the days that we used to see him in Warcraft 3, but I'm sure there are a few Warcraft players out there who would be like, he does remind me a little bit of a mini Pato.
I have no clue what you're talking about.
It's a very good Warcraft 3 player.
Oh, okay.
And an awesome guy.
Awesome stuff. Also, I really do wish I followed a bit more of Warcraft 3, I must admit, because you know, I watched at the very end and it was a lot of fun to watch. Much more prolonged battles, where you could really see people's micro being tested. It was cool.
Yeah, they had a pretty strong scene back in the days. Well, of course, we do see the gateway going down as a very early drone scout here for WM. I almost have the idea that maybe we're going to see some crazy hatchery going up on the other side of the map. Then again, he's playing, well, actually against the gateway that's far away. I wouldn't mind seeing him throw down at hatchery. What I want to say though is that Brazil had a pretty competitive Warcraft 3 scene, and I saw a couple of people in the previous days as well asking like, what happened to the guys like Levin and Pato? Most of them have retired from esports and they are not competitive in any game.
Yeah, Levin actually, you know, he was around for like WCS Brazil and stuff like that in 2012, which was nice to see him. He actually advanced on all the way to the grand finals, I believe.
Yep, that is correct.
So that was fun to see Levin doing well. But I think he's a doctor, isn't he? Like,
I don't know that.
I think he's well, anyway, he's retired, so it doesn't matter. But he was one of Brazil's best players. But now we have people like WM coming through, and Kalsaher, you mentioned previously.
And of course, we still have Tunico as well.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be fun tomorrow to see a couple of those Brazilians clash, because there's a little bit of national pride on the line as well. Either way, we see puCK opening up with the Zealot. I wouldn't be surprised to see him cancel that Zealot as soon as he realizes that there are no links in his base. But he might just let it finish. It doesn't change all that much.
Yeah, puCK's just going to look to take that expansion pretty quickly, as you rightly pointed out, cancelling the Zealot just so he can get the minerals to throw down that Nexus. And from there on out, we'll see what puCK wants to do.
I'm a little bit surprised that WM went for that super quick drone scout. Now, of course, that did give him the safety to go hatch first, like we did see him do on the other side of the map. He researched speed pretty quickly. Like, this is 4 minutes, and his speed is already being researched. That means that he's going to have speed at 530, and that's quick, guys. Now, not ridiculously quick, not, oh my god, he's really committed, but often as a Protoss player, you expect speed to finish up if you don't scout between 545, 610. A Zerg with speed at 530, he might make a big spell of links and try to make something happen.
Yeah, he may do. And, you know, unless we see puCK properly defending his wall, once he probably throws down the 2 gateways. I mean, you can actually throw down a Stargate in this wall as well, but the gas timings aren't exactly right there for puCK to do something like that. So we're going to have gateway, probably another gateway as well. So just the 3 gates for now.
Actually, I should never do math on stream. I was thinking that it was 90 seconds. Of course, the speed is 110 seconds, so it's going to be a little closer to 550. Disregard anything I just said. It's not that crazy. It's still a little quick. I mean, he definitely didn't play it greedy, but there's nothing too strange about this. I just suddenly, for some reason, I thought speed was done in 90 seconds, which is a terrifying thought. And I'm glad it's not that case.
That would be pretty scary, you're right. Well, puCK's now going to open up with Stargate. Pretty much his go-to that I've seen a lot of times in PvZ. And rightly so. I mean, it gives you so much versatility. 2 Lings are going to poke forwards. Not really see too much other than these 2 gateways, but now this gives WM the reassurance that, you know, getting speed out was probably the right idea, just in case some kind of Zealot gateway pressure was on the way.
It would be extremely important for him to find this probe on the right side of the map, especially if puCK indeed opens up with an Oracle where he, you know, might force out some spore crawlers, and then WM might lose a few drones here and there, and he'd be like, oh, man, I'm going to need to catch up in drones. We do see a couple of links on the production tab, so he might be more worried about gateway aggression than he has to be in this phase in the game. However, 2 minutes from now on, everything could be different. But of course, you'd rather have those Zerglings being drones for now.
Yeah, and those Lings on the right-hand side did spot that probe, so very, very well done by those guys. And it's just going to be the Phoenix follow-up that WM has already identified as well, so he's going to take his 3rd base.
This is all pretty solid from my Zerg, to be honest.
Yeah.
He's down 6 drones, but he should be able to catch up in that real soon. He's throwing down a bunch of spores. Those links, other than, you know, like maybe finding a probe, they won't be able to do a whole lot. But if he doesn't take too much damage from these Phoenixes, he should be able to get a pretty good economy in the near future. And should be able to stabilize in 3 bases, and then it might not be all that bad.
And for now, just holding on at the front here is puCK while sending those Phoenix out to maybe, you know, kind of catch an Overlord or 2. But the harassment will begin. He'll try and find weak spots around gases.
Oh, great force field there by puCK. For a second, I thought, wow, a bunch of speedlings in his natural. That could be annoying. But he lands some excellent force fields, and he will be able to catch 9-10 links there for absolutely nothing.
Yeah, it's not just the defensive force field to keep them out, but it's also the secondary one to keep them in that is really punishing there for WM. Meanwhile, the Phoenix is just going to continue trundling across the map here and trying to get an Overlord. Good micro from puCK will keep that Phoenix alive. And, well, he will look for little opportunities, but there are already the spore crawlers, as mentioned before.
And what we're seeing over here from puCK is a very safe Protoss style. That's like basically as safe as you're going to play. You open up with a bunch of Phoenixes, and you're going to drop a Robo, and then around 9 minutes, you're going to drop a Nexus. Of course, he has a Mothership core as well. So this is a style that's something that you can always fall back on. It's hard to get surprised because, hey, your Phoenixes are maybe a lot of scouting information, while he is taking a lot of damage on them, but he's microing them pretty well. You don't want to lose any Phoenixes though. Oh, wow, one Phoenix does fall.
Nice kill by the Queen there, as well, it was way out of range of that Spore Crawler, but more and more Overlords are dying off, and this is becoming a problem for WM. He doesn't want to be committing so much of his resource income to replenishing Overlords.
And he's been slacking a little bit on producing drones. Right now he's only on 41 drones, while in this phase in the game against the opening that he was up against, he really should have had more works than his opponent. This is a phase where Zerg should be at least on 55, maybe even you know, getting close to 60 drones, because you know how your opponent is playing. Instead, he's actually trailing on work, and SPOK on 54 probes against 45 drones. Any Zerg will tell you that you're in a lot of trouble when that's the case at the 10-minute mark.
Yeah, and we're going to have now Void Rays entering the field as well. Whilst the Phoenix try and find a little bit of an opportunity to harass this gas line, and they only get one kill for their troubles, but what I'm seeing a lot here from the Brazilian Zergs is big focus on Ling Hydra play. Obviously the Roach Warren went down and it was just an insurance policy in case the Warp Gate aggression was coming, but they really love their Ling Hydra, like really, really love it.
A couple of Zerglings are going to jump on these gateway units, but those gateway units are actually too much to handle, as of course a couple force sweeps will go down, and Ken is about to finish up. I like what puCK did there. He set up a little trap with those rocks being very low in HP. I hope WM won't fall for that in later stage in the game. Either way, he is running up big time right now. That's definitely what he needs. He's about to overtake his opponent in drones. Might even get a couple of probe kills over here. But I'm a little bit worried how he's going to deal with the Colossus, Phoenix, Void Ray, eventually Blink Stalker's army, because he just didn't have the economy early on to sort of overrun this. So he's going to have somehow need to get like a really good fight when he's maxed out. Maybe with Vipers or a bunch of Corruptors, but it's going to be pretty tough regardless.
Yeah, it really is. Well, actually, he is indeed adding on the Roaches here as well. So, but again, it can be all too often that we see Zergs get stuck in the mid-game, right? Of just having Roach, Hydra, and then you try and transition onto Viper, but by that time, look what we already have puCK doing. He's adding on 2 extra Stargates, extra gateways. His army is going to be so formidable, and WM needs to find some way to get out of this cycle.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised to see those double Stargate, or those 2 additional Stargates go down in this phase in the game, while the Infestation Pit is going down on the other side of the map. I'm just not really sure where he wants to go with it, unless he wants a heavy commitment to the Void Rays, which is fine, of course, because we know that Void Rays are an excellent unit against Zerg. But it's kind of strange with the way that he opened up them. Then why did you open up with the Colossus? Perhaps to throw your opponent off a little bit. Either way, a couple of Zealots will run straight into their death. I mean, Zerg has a good economy right now. Invitation Pit will allow him to get a couple of Infestors out, which I think is the best thing that he could possibly do against Void Rays. Or he's going to make Swarmos, and he's going to make this a very long game. He's like, some spotlight camera time. Nothing wrong with that.
Not wrong with that at all. I mean, these Zerglings, WM's trying to find counter-attack little potentials, run-bys where he can. Already spoke to a lot of the Brazilians who do mention that, you know, WM really, really likes to try and go for those run-bys where he can. But when you're going up against a solid player like puCK, who is covering all the angles, it's very difficult to make work, and he's wasting a few units here and there.
So puCK is going to get a very strong army, consisting of a bunch of Colossi, a few Void Rays here and there. He still has the Phoenixes as well, which will always be useful in cleaning up like bits of an army after you win an engagement. Right now, puCK is just macroing up, while WM is also going up to Hive. I do hope that we are going to see, you know, a few Vipers that might, you know, maybe he can put in a few Void Rays here and there, because there is no Templar Archive, so feedback is not a realistic option. There are no Blink Stalkers to really protect those units. Maybe he's able to hit some sort of a sick timing with a bunch of Hydras and a Vipers. Once more, it's going to be really hard to pull it off against a player like puCK, especially considering the fact that puCK has had an economic lead for the majority of this game.
And I really like how puCK identifies that there had to be some vision down there with an Overlord. So he kills that off. The pylon still remains, so he can use that as a route to put on some aggression at the third base again. This Queen, unfortunately, will end up falling to these Phoenix. And right now, I mean, he doesn't actually have that many Queens out. Only 3 across these bases. It means he's going to miss some lava injects.
Queens would be excellent against Void Rays as well, especially as long as there are no High Templars. 5 Vipers in production, that's a pretty big commitment. He has 26 Roaches, 17 Hydras. He could use a few additional Hydras, but you know, if he's able to somehow get a couple of perfect abducts, even though the Templar Archives is going down, so I'm afraid by the time that these 2 players will really clash, there will be High Templars, there will be feedback, and puCK has excellent army control when it comes to this phase in the game.
Yeah, you're right. And the thing is actually 5 Vipers seems a little bit more than usual. Normally like 3 or 4 is the go-to for a Zerg, but 5 is quite a lot there. A big investment if he's not able to make them work.
Also, I'd be careful with draining everything from this hatchery, because that's the hatchery that will most likely get focused if puCK once more decides to wipe in a few Zealots, soon to be charge slots on that side of the map.
You bring up a really good point with that pylon that does have those charge lots there. And the Phoenix is still trying to put on some pressure on the right-hand side. Snow Spore Crawler in sight, and he does have the Overlord speed, so they can get out of range just a little bit quicker. But now, WM's looking for a fight. But puCK's already maxed out as well with an awesome army.
Upgrades are not fantastic, but the same can be said for WM. I was looking at puCK upgrade. He has +1 shields, +1 armor, no, +1 attack, sorry, so he has no armor upgrade just yet. He will get +1 air weapons as well, but these Roaches and Hydras, they only have +1. Sometimes when you see Zergs crushing Protoss armies like this, Roach Hydra has 2/2 upgrades, and that makes a massive difference.
He sees the army on the right-hand side, tries to push that away. That gives WM a little bit of an opportunity to move into a better position, and doesn't really get too much of an opportunity at all to do any damage, as he does get sealed in quite heavily, killed off instantly, absolutely vaporized.
Great forces there by puCK. Colossus doing massive work. At the same time, a couple of Roaches trying to work on this Nexus, but the numbers are just not there, and the upgrades are not there either, and a couple of Zealots did manage to kill the natural. Despite still having 191 army supply, he's just remaxing on 35 Roaches, and that's, in my opinion, sort of a panic remax. That's like, oh, I need a lot of units right now, let's make Roaches, because, Hydras are going to die against Colossus, but these Roaches are not going to be extremely effective either against Void Ray Colossus, unless your Mondo are gone, but I feel even those days are gone.
And he lost so many of the Vipers to the Phoenix that have been lingering all game long. He lost 4 of them in total during everything that has happened, so that is really, really brutal here. He really needs those if he wants to engage into this army. There's still a lot of energy left here on these sentries for Force Field. This hatchery that was so weak before does end up falling, but puCK's army is so formidable. There is literally nothing that he can do where WM can do against that. He has to go for the counter-attack.
Yeah, that's indeed pretty much the best thing he could do. Some are hoping that he's able to catch a break here and there. Maybe I won't say a bad recall, but I do not think that puCK remade his Mothership Core.
No.
He does have one, but I guess it's on okay, it's near the 4th base, so it's in the same position as well. He will be able to intercept the Void Ray there, and this is better than running all your Roaches straight into the depth. So I like what WM is going to try to do over here. I still think it's going to be very hard to pull it off.
puCK now separates up his army, realizing his opponent's entire force is over the other side of the map. The Void Ray is going to go to work on the 4th, whilst the Colossi go to town on the main. And, well, yeah, WM is trying to break on through, and he does break down the wall at the natural, and also trying to break down through at the 4th, but realistically, I don't think this is going to work out in the end.
He still has a lot of money. Unfortunately, he lost a crazy amount of Overlords to all those charged Void Rays. He's running a bunch of Hydras and Roaches into the main. He will get those Void Rays. He will get the Colossus as well. Unfortunately, there's no Overseer inside, and the Dark Shrine just finished up. So these Dark Templars, sorry, are just slicing apart these Hydralisks.
Yeah, just battles everywhere, and there you go, GG. WM knows he is defeated, and puCK takes a pretty convincing game number 1.
Yeah, this is a really solid play from start to finish from puCK. He didn't really do anything very spectacular, but that Phoenix into 3 base into a Colossus is just a very standard go-to build for Protoss. If you feel like, I think I can have this game, I don't feel like I have to cut too many corners, I have to do something crazy, probably so he wouldn't play the same way against Soki, but against a player like WM, he might be like, I think I am the stronger player. I think with a safe and solid style like this, I should not be vulnerable to anything, and I should be able to close out the win. And he did a very good job in game 1.
Yeah, you really hit the nail on the head. puCK doesn't need to take any risks here. He can just play exactly how he wants to control the flow of the game. And now WM sits on the verge of elimination here in the Intel Extreme Masters. People looking at the group may have thought that this would have been the case, but WM...
Still, he's putting up a good show. Against Jokchi, kind of everything went wrong. There were a bunch of Hellions and Banshees. This was already a little bit better, but let's not forget, guys, that it's extremely hard to play on a big stage against, I would almost say a world-class Protoss like puCK, but at least, among the North Americans or on the North American server, puCK is just one of those absolute best Protoss players around. And, if you are a Master League Zerg player, you obviously know what you're doing and you're good, but it all gets really visible when you go up against someone as strong as puCK. Then suddenly you start second-guessing yourself, maybe he would play a little more greedy against someone that isn't puCK. But on the big stage, he's like, I see a few gateways. I better make some Zerglings. I'm still going to wait a little bit longer with my drones. And if you are behind in economy as a Zerg against the Protoss and you play against the style that puCK was displaying, it is very, very hard to do something.
All right, well, we're going to be getting into game number 2 in a second here. Yonsu is our map, and we shall start in just a second. So WM looking to bring things back in this series. The winner of this will advance to play against JackG. So even if you were able to get over this hurdle, you've got another really hard one later on.
Before puCK went to the stage, he's like, well, Bomber won. He's like, at least I don't have to play Bomber again if I make it. I was like, yeah, well, that's a good way of looking at it. Bomber looked spectacular, by the way, this morning.
Yeah.
Of course, Bomber one of the favorites for the entire tournament. But I felt we've seen like 25 minutes of Bomber, and he was like 2-0, 2-0. All right. So now I have 2 days off. Is that correct? Well, there is a chance that he plays tomorrow, because I believe tomorrow we're doing 8 best-of-3s and 2 quarterfinals. Is that correct, James?
Yes, we are. We're doing 4 games from each of the last remaining 2 groups, and then 2 quarterfinals. But now, game number 2. Spawning down to the bottom left-hand corner here as our blue Protoss. Currently 1 game up. It's puCK. And up to the top right, we have our red Zerg. Looking to try and keep his hopes alive here at the Intel Extreme Masters. It is WM.
Going up to 10 supply. Maybe taking a note out of Nesty's playbook. Wants to do the extractor trick, or we might see a 10 pool.
We may do.
This is completely possible as well.
And he's not using any of those lava, so it looks like it's going to be the case.
And actually, the first pylon is going down on the low ground. Now, in general, whenever you're temp-pooling, you don't want to play against the gateway first, because you're going to have a very hard time doing something with your Zerglings if there's a Zealot a few seconds later, or a Mothership Core for that matter. But puCK is scouting, and I'm actually kind of curious to see, okay, puCK realizes right now, I wanted to go maybe Nexus first or Forge Fast Expand, and he is scouting the main base of his opponent right now. And now we do see that tempo, so what is puCK going to do? Is he going to try to get a wall off on the low ground, or is there enough time for that? I'm kind of curious.
Well, it's a short rush distance on this map, so we'll find out in just a second what puCK's reaction is going to be. He's already sending down to the low ground, and he's going to go for the Forge first. Obviously, anything else would be a bit crazy.
The extractor going down is interesting as well. Kind of wonder what he wants to do with that.
Yeah, I'm guessing a Speedling all-in?
The Speedling all-in is completely possible, but he might try to go for the slow bailing all-in as well. I mean, it's something that's good in ZVZ, so he might be like, why not try it in ZVP? We do see the Forge, actually Gateway, yes, Forge Gateway going down for puCK. So he will be able to get a wall off in time. It's going to most likely will be an absolute full wall off. But let's not forget, because of that pylon, his wall off will always be quite susceptible for bailing boss.
Yeah, it will. And, well, we'll see what he wants to do with that. It looks like, there we go. There's first 100 gas into this boost.
Okay, so he's going to drop the cannon before he drops the additional gateway. And he drops another pylon. Interesting.
Oh, that's quite an interesting spot, yeah. Well, I guess it does give you the opportunity
to temporary wall off. Like, you can always cancel this pylon as soon as the cannon is up. Okay, that's a cool way of dealing with things. Taking a look at the income depth, there are 17 workers right now for our Protoss player against 11 for our Zerg, of course. He's hurting quite badly in economy. The cannon is not ready yet. puCK is not in a position to cancel this first pylon, because otherwise those links would run in.
2 links will end up falling, so not really too much. And still gas incoming.
Yep. So I think he's going to throw down a bailing nest, but he's extremely poor, because he has so few that we do see that bailing nest go down, and he will still leave 2 drones. So he's going to try to bailing bust this kind of odd wall from puCK that is indeed very susceptible to a bailing bust. And let's not forget that puCK only has a single probe out on the map. It's extremely important that this probe does not see the bailing nest. And the fact that he won't see that hatchery in the natural is already a big tell.
Yeah.
It's a good play by puCK that he kept this probe out. Otherwise, he would be completely in the dark, because he's on a full wall off.
You're right. WM's Overlord did actually spot this probe in the middle of the map, but he didn't go hunting for it, and the probe isn't actually moving. The probe is not moving right now. We'll go towards the Queen. How well can it... Oh, he didn't. He
didn't see the extractor either, so he will throw down a second cannon. He's obviously worried.
Yeah.
And this is indeed sort of a double wall, but let's not forget over here on the left side, if he's able to bailing bust those left 2 pylons and maybe run into the main with a bunch of speedlings, I guess the Zealot will completely block it. We do see that second backup wall going down, so despite puCK not seeing the extractor, despite not him not seeing the bailing nest, he still seems to have a really good idea of what is going on.
Yeah, good play here by puCK just to keep himself solid and stable. 22 workers to 12. If these bailings are able to break through, then maybe he can do something, but the secondary wall is already up. There's not really much damage for them to do. Don't even kill the Zealot. puCK's playing this out nicely.
Yep, now the sentry is out as well. And with those 3 cannons and the sentry, he is more than safe. There are a few more Lings on the production tab. I wouldn't even mind seeing him cancel those Zerglings and just, even though he has no additional life right now, but these Lings won't be able to do anything. You know, sometimes never give up, never surrender. You want to be really persistent with your Baneling boss, but I'm afraid that this time it's not going to work. We see a layer going down.
Either Swarm, maybe?
Yeah, well, I'm actually not sure because he still only has 10 drones on minerals, and that's so little, guys.
I can only assume it would be something like an Ida Swarm, because he sees how much his opponent's committed to the armor at the front. He has an Overlord positioned at the back that he could use, but it's weird still.
Yeah, he's very poor. We do see that Nexus going down right now. Finally, some more drones will be squeezed out, so that will give him at least a reasonable economy. He will finally get up to close to 16 workers in his main, so that's the minimum what you have. Whatever one-base cheese you want to go throw at your opponent, unless it's super early on, but you need at least 16, 18 probes.
Well, he's still saving up that gas and still mining it as well, so these Lings not really getting anything done at the very front, whilst we have him just retreating back to his main at this point. So where is he going to go from here is the big question.
Nidus seems to be the only option.
Yeah.
He has no economy for one-base Muda.
No, definitely not.
But I mean, what is he going to put in the Nidus network?
Lings only? There we go. All right, well, this is going to be interesting.
I'm still a little worried because he doesn't have that much larva. And there are already quite a few gateway units out. We have 4 gateway units. And of course, you know, the best case scenario, which I think is even an unlikely scenario, but the absolute best case scenario is that he's able to kill the main. But then he's still down in workers. He just transfers those workers to the natural. And the natural will always be safe with those 3 cannons there. And of course, the sentries that are already out.
And this Mothership Core is looking to try and get some scouting information. Once it sees the lack of a natural once again, he's going to wait a minute and try and deal with that. But he has a pylon up to the top left here in his base that just barely spots that Overlord. So he technically...
he's going to send the sentries. He's going to see the Nidus network go down immediately.
Yeah.
So everything is going puCK's way this game, and poor WM just can't seem to catch a break. Tried to go with the Baneling boss, but puCK, you know, puCK had that great follow-up scout. If that probe wouldn't have been able to see what he's seen, maybe puCK would have played it a little more greedy. Maybe he would have tried to drop that Nexus a little more quickly because he was worried about the macro game where he would fall behind quite far. But puCK saw everything that he needed to see, and he's like, you know what, I'm not going to take any risk. I'm going to drop additional cannons. I'm going to have a super secure wall off with a double pylon block in multiple locations. I'm not going to die to Banelings, and you know that was the only thing he had to worry about.
Yeah, a well played out defensive game here by puCK, even just harassing this natural base when +1 weapons is about to finish up, which is really going to be the nail in the coffin. I mean, it's already looking bleak here for WM. But, I mean, Zealots being able to just two-shot these Zerglings, of course he could morph in Banelings, but it's going to be difficult.
Maybe some burrowed Baneling action.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
There's no robo on the map.
That's true, that is true.
TLO has shown us in the past that burrowed Banelings are capable of doing some damage, but of course, guys, this is a very dicey scenario for the that's how James would say it, man.
Man.
It is a dicey scenario for our Zerg player. He needs more than a miracle to come back in this game. 48 probes against 21 drones. But it is, of course, an awesome opportunity to be here at the Intel Extreme Masters in Sao Paulo and play on such a big stage. Have so many people watching. You know, why give up early when you can perhaps still do something cool, still do something that people will remember you for. And I would definitely do the same if I was WM. I wouldn't want to leave.
Yeah, and puCK is, you know, he's preparing for the last scapegoat of Zerg, which is, I'm going to try and switch to Muta and pray that he doesn't have a Stargate or anything, which I don't think is going to work in the end, unfortunately.
You know, this is really fun as well for puCK, because let's not forget, guys, winning a game always feels good. And even when you know you're very far ahead, whenever you're ahead, you also feel that you're playing really well, you know, like, oh, I'm just doing everything right. So right now he's making a bunch of Phoenixes, which he will be able to pick up a lot of Overlord switch, a lot of drones. This is all momentum that puCK can carry into his next series, where he's going to play against jockg, because there's no better feeling than playing out the game where you know that you're impossibly far ahead.
And those Phoenix now going to move out for the harassment. Zerglings managed to actually slip on through and forces 2 force fields, but in the end, it's only 5 Lings in the main base, while the rest will end up getting cleaned up. So, and there's even a cannon there.
Yeah, these links will get nothing done as well. +1 air weapons is about to finish up, and +1 Phoenixes, they wreck stuff if there are no spore crawlers. It's not ready yet, but look how quick this Overlord is going to die as soon as +1 is ready. It's really sick, because of course the Phoenixes attack twice, so instead of just getting +1, they get +2.
Yeah, the adaptation from puCK to be playing so nicely defensively is very good. The rocks do get broken down, so WM floods in, but there you go. GG, well played. Good luck as puCK advances on to the next round.
Convincing victory for puCK, and of course WM will walk away with $350 for making it through the open bracket here at the Intel Extreme Masters in Sao Paulo. So his efforts won't go up in vain, and puCK is going to have to mentally prepare himself for that final series of Group A, and which what I think is going to be a fantastic series between him and puCK. puCK looked a little bit shaky earlier today against Bomber, but there were multiple, phases in that game where, okay, puCK, if you make it okay throughout the next 30 to 45 seconds, you might have a very realistic shot at taking this game, and he knew that as well. I was talking a little bit with him after the series, and he said like, I'm not too upset about losing. I just wish I could have shown better games, because he's like, I was just kind of falling apart. But with this format, in the end, it doesn't really matter. If he would have won that series and he would have lost the next one, he would be in the exact same position as he is in right now. So one best of 3 is all that it takes for puCK, and I think we can embrace ourselves for one hell of a series.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be good. puCK's ability to control storms, for example, in that series is something that impressed me. Really hit those very, very well. But he keeps mentioning to me that it's like his worst matchup. But I mean, when you're going up against Bomber, it's kind of difficult anyway.
Also, I probably still have to explain something early today, because I know a lot of people are making fun of me right now for having that Ajax scarf around my neck. The thing is, Carmack was standing behind us, and he had a hat. And then I told us, like, oh, that's like a type of Sasa hat. And then Carmack said, like, Roddy, just close your eyes when the camera goes live. And I was like, what? He's like, just close your eyes. Promise to keep your eyes closed. And I was like, oh, okay. I thought, like, I'm going to get a hat too or something. And I thought, like, it's going to be some sort of a silly hat. But, if Carmack wants to have some fun on my, how do you say, on my expense?
Your expense, yeah.
Then that's okay. And then suddenly I hear the microphone. I was like, Carmack, what are you doing? And the camera goes on. I was like, oh, my God. Of course, that's the rival of my favorite football team. Carmack knows that I'm a big Feyenoord fan, and Ajax and Feyenoord, they don't really go well together. But I'll get my sweet revenge on Carmack one day. I will wake him up with glory, glory, Man United in the middle of the night or something like that.
Oh, nobody gets revenge on Carmack, man. It's really tough. But guys, that's going to do it for this series. We'll be back with more StarCraft action from the Intel Extreme Masters Sao Paulo right after this.